Good morning, we danced the whole night through. Good morning, good muffins to you. That might be a mixture of memories from my childhood. And every time I do something like that, every time I think about something from my childhood, I think, oh, you Americans might not get that, because that might be a Canadian commercial. And then I think, oh, you Canadians might not get that, because that might have been something I heard in Africa. Oh, you Africans might not recognize that because that might be something from when I lived in Ireland. So I never know. I never know. I'd rather not know. Like why I say rather. I don't know. I don't know where I get that. It's my pronunciation. Welcome everybody. I am your Heavenly Father, Kevin Williams. Now, just FYI, if you're tuning into this broadcast, we will be discussing random things. This is just Spilling COFFEFE. There's no agenda to this. We're just talking. Good morning, Stephanie. Good Marcy. Good Marcy, Stephanie. Good morning, Josh. Good morning, Cujo. My voice is not here yet this morning. It's early here. It's earlier where Marcy is. It's dark. It is dark outside. Okay, Google, turn off the studio. Let's see if that works. You'll see how dark it is, and then everyone will get scared. We will be discussing random things today. There it is. Wow, that took a while. Thanks, Google. Oh, you know what? You guys can't even tell. The camera's picking up. I'm going to do this in the dark, as I do every broadcast. So, the big news today is that yesterday, after months and months of Republicans insisting, well, it wasn't an insurrection because no one's been charged with conspiracy. Well, how come no one's been charged with sedition if it was such a big insurrection when the tourists came and didn't bring any arms? The Oath Keepers have been charged with insurrection. Conspiracy to commit sedition, seditious conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. The DOJ calls it illegal. And the leader on down have been charged with conspiracy to overthrow the United States government and or hinder the actions of the United States government. Fits like a glove when you read the actual federal law. It's a statute. It's a code. And it's code outside, baby, because we are going to watch some Kevin and or McCarthy. Well, we enjoy watching Kevin McCarthy, and I've been pointing out, but I find more and more people on lines are discovering what I've known for years. Kevin McCarthy speaks no English. It's really impressive that he wants to be the next housekeeper, because he comes from Bakersfield, as I understand it, which you want to, that's why I-5 like literally turns away before it gets to Bakersfield when you're heading north from LA, because you want to avoid the place, mostly because of Kevin McCarthy. He's from Bakersfield, so naturally probably speaks Spanish. Maybe a little Italian, as I understand it. Not fluent in it, but conversational Italian, and then no English whatsoever. And yet here he is, the leader of the Republican minority, and I think that speaks well of America. I really do. Kevin's, am I right? You are right. Oh my God, the judges agree with you too. They're here early, but good to have you. However many judges are here. Big news, folks, which I'll share with you at 11:30 when we broadcast again. No, I'm kidding. I don't know when we're broadcasting again. I will literally be at the new Ponderosa Studios, which is being considered as the new location for the live stream, to find out why the heating system isn't working properly. So that's the big news. The producer and nurse JoJo is possibly considering a move, and there are inspections happening. So I have been back and forth all over the place. Speaking of housekeeping, I have to go to this inspection of the HVAC system, so that I can earn my keep at the new Ponderosa studio. So we're looking forward to that. It's a property where there are stalls for horses. So I feel like this will be a stable location for us for a while. And I'm looking forward to that, if that in fact comes to fruition. Speaking of fruition, This is our friend Kevin McCarthy. We'll get right into it. And by the way, if anybody wants to talk about anything today, I am wide open. Their lawyer said it wasn't them in the video this morning on CNN. Maybe we'll watch that. I don't know. CNN gives me copyright strikes, so we don't really do CNN. We're going to watch a little C-SPAN. Maybe we'll check out Fox and Friends after this. I don't know. The ponderosa comes with 3 grown sons. They do eat a lot. You're telling me, Haas. Is it? Am I getting this wrong? But on Bonanza, they lived at the Ponderosa, right? That's how that went. I'm not sure, but I think about it a lot. I sit there. I wish there was a word in English or Spanish that could describe the act of just being thinky, really thinking about it a lot, right? Was that 2 different Westerns from our childhood, or is that just one? Again, I sit there and I think about it. I mull it over. I wish there was a word. Did they live at the Ponderosa? Are you covering the former guy's rally tomorrow? Yes, I certainly hope I am. Here's our deal. Our deal. It was my deal, and then Nurse Jojo got in on it. I will be donating platelets and clotlets tomorrow at the blood center, and that goes from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and I will cover the rally after that. There's going to be a bunch of guest speakers. Trump won't come on until later. It's in Arizona, so he'll be on later that, but I will be covering the rally. I'm also going to record it at the same time, because often when these rallies are broadcast, then they get cut off as soon as they're broadcast, because the peoples don't want to get a bunch of strikes against them, because Trump does things that YouTube doesn't like suggest harm to people and are abusive, and the overthrow of the government, etc. And I speak against these awful things all the time, and somehow I'm demonetized on the YouTubes. So I will be watching while we watch, and then when we get ahead of the broadcast, or when the broadcast gets ahead of us, when the speech gets ahead of us. Anyway, yeah, so tomorrow night, that's my big plan. Tonight, movie night, if you're in our little group, that will probably happen. If you're not in our little group to watch the movies, we get together and there's videos of us. It's like a big Zoom movie chat room. We pick a movie that we can all watch, and we watch it together. If you have Netflix or Prime or whatever, we make it work so that everybody can turn it on their TV, and then we watch it, then we get together and we talk about it. And mostly it's just, we chit chat, we share girl news and stuff. And every once in a while we get a guy in there. So 3 sons, says Thomas: Haas, Little Joe, and Adam. That's correct. And the cook's name was... Somebody give me the cookie's name. Oh, damn it! I make this so easy, you guys. Cujo, there used to be a restaurant called Ponderosa. Oh my God! Yes, Cujo, there was a restaurant named Ponderosa, and guess where we used to go for birthday parties with Granddad in Calgary? Ponderosa, my friend. And they would bring out your birthday cake with sparklers on them, okay? Now, in the United States, hop sing, hop sung. You are both correct. I'm not sure the judges... I'm going to give you both credit for that. I think it was hop sing. Could be hop sung. I think it was hop sing. It was a steakhouse. It was like Bonanza. No. What's the... Sizzler. It's just like Sizzler, but it was called Ponderosa in Canada. And there are still a couple of Sizzlers as far as I know. Does anybody know, is Sizzler gone completely now since the pandemic? Again, this is just random talk. This is just the morning Spilling COFFEFE. We're not on a specific track here. This is my fun time because I don't really have to do anything. So we'll do some Trumpslation on Kevin McCarthy in a while, because I do want to watch that. And yeah, it was a steakhouse, and it was good times. And the thing about that Americans cannot fathom, they cannot understand. Okay, you've been fact-checked, Thomas. I think it was Thomas who said hop sung, was it? Yeah, Thomas. It was hop sing, says Marcy, using her Googles. By the way, so the president giving a little speech on how to get tested. Go to Google. and you'll find we have 20,000 locations to get new tests. You want to find one of those? Go to Google. How do you find anything nowadays? You go to Google. You Google it. And okay, that's what everybody does, I thought, until the right wing is going just ape about Kamala Harris saying, go to Google and find a test. Oh, Google. Oh, well, let's just go Google. Let's go do Google. And first, I don't know why they're mocking someone for saying, use a search engine to find a location. It also explains why they are so bereft of fact and knowledge, because they don't know how to do Google. Wow. There are so many things you could be upset with Kamala for. Excuse the use of the preposition at the end of the sentence. I would know that that's not a thing if I would just do Google. But I am bereft of fucks at this point. Justice Gorsuch also doesn't use Google. That is correct. I was in a court case once where the judge didn't know how to Google. I got a speeding ticket, and they have access to the Google on their little computers at the desk. I got a speeding ticket where I showed the judge that it was impossible unless I was gunning my engine. I had a receipt for Taco Bell. I had just bought the kids, Kevinly daughter and her friend, young Parker, lovely young lady. I had just bought them the Taco Bells, which, as you know, is the messiest of all the fast foods from the major chains. I know everyone out there, oh no, I know, I got a place called Wimpy's in my town. That's way messier than Taco Bell. Okay. That was my impersonation of Marcy, by the way. I got a place called Wimpy's on the island. Yeah, we got a place called Wimpy's, and it's way messier. It's called Wimpy's Hop Sing. He's the chef there, and he makes some hamburger that just everything just falls right out as soon as you take a bite. Can I just say this? People make fun of Mexicans in the United States. Not everyone, but there are racists out there who make fun of Mexicans for being not as smart as Americans, blah, 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 blah. Who does all the hard work? Everybody does all the hard work. But what I'm saying is that Americans came up with the hamburger, okay? Take a bite while you're driving. What? Everything just falls out. You got to keep the paper on it. Now you're eating with one hand because you're driving with the other hand, and everything's falling out. Mexicans, burrito. Boom. Wrap that shit up while you're driving. Smart people. And that's why Kevin McCarthy, being a native Spanish speaker, I have so much respect for that man. And that is called the burrito posit. So you know, you can look that up. That is it's a hypothesis. Stephanie says, they'll find you if you use Google, says my maggot cousin. Who's they? If you use Google. No, you guys got to go on DuckDuckGo. That's where you go. DuckDuckGo. Go is right in it. DuckDuckGo. I just wonder, the people behind DuckDuckGo, what they're thinking of was, what is there of the thinking of time? I'm just prepping for the Englishing that's going to come out of Kevin McCarthy. What was there thinking of the time for DuckDuckGo? Like, what, you know, we should go duck.com. Okay, oh, it's taken. All right, I don't know, duck.com. Okay, duck.com. Okay, how about DuckDuckSpoon? DuckDuckSpoon.com. Taken. All right, fine. DuckDuckFoot. DuckDuckFoot.com. Taken. If you've ever tried to search for a domain name, this is what happens. What? DuckDuckDresser. No. Hold on. DuckDuckDresser.edu is available if you want to register as an educational unit with the government. All right, hold on. DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Get it. $14.95. Do I want privacy protection? No. I don't know where that all happened. Lindsey Graham uses Google. Yeah, he sure does. He gets on there and he just grinds away on that app. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Marcy says I didn't have to Google this one. And that's why she should be vice president. Seth Meyers had a funny Supreme Court joke last night. I can't find it, but oh, you know what? I might be able to. Hold on. Let me just quickly. It was right at the beginning of the Morning Joes this morning. I'll see if I can pull that up because I can show that much, I believe. And what we're doing, we're going to react to it. We're going to react to this joke, and make commentary on it if you have commentary on it. And I encourage everyone in the chat room in our town hall, if you will, and I hope you do. Let's see if it starts off with the right note here, and I believe that it will. We'll find out here in a
Morning
second.
Joe.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, Morning Joe starting in a second. Let's see. Give me a second.
Starts right now.
Right now. Here it is. So we'll show just a moment of MSNBC showing NBC from last night, the Seth Meyers show. And if you follow the Netsing world, you'll understand. Sorry, tennis for you Americans. You'll understand what this is. Let me put my headphones up on here so that you guys don't get echo. And we'll show this in a second. This is what I woke up to this morning. Yes, I wake up in the morning to Morning Joe. Sometimes. That is what I have my alarm set for. Also, uncoincidentally, I am single. Here we go. Here is the Morning Joe.
Supreme Court heard oral argument.
Let's go back
for it.
Here we go.
Thanks to all of you for getting up way too early with us this Friday morning and all week long. Have a good, safe weekend. Morning Joe starts right now.
I tell you what, that Danny Bonaducci just never stops. Hardest working man in show business.
Supreme Court heard oral arguments on Tuesday, and Justice Neil Gorsuch was reportedly the only member not to wear a face mask. Even worse, they're letting him play in the Australian Open.
Funny. That is about no vaccine Djokovic trying to play in the Australian Open. He's lied several times on his application. He got tested positive for COVID last month and then showed up to do an interview and then took pictures without a mask on. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Then lied about travel in the last 2 weeks. Then said his agent did it by mistake. It was a human error, so it's okay. Because, you know, there's a lot of errors. If you're a traveling tennis star, as no vaccine Djokovic is, if you are, then you have, a lot of times you'll have a chimpanzee fill out your immigration visa application, or a dog, or in Novak's case, a giraffe. All of these things happen in the tennis world. This was a human error. So when a human makes a mistake, there's no repercussions. Especially if that human is a Republican member of Congress. So we don't know yet. I don't know. Let's see what I almost don't care. Let's see if he's been allowed to play. So he has been scheduled in the Australian Open. He has a game on Sunday, which, if you do the math on the time zones, that will actually be Sunday, January 16th, will be May 14th here in the United States. In fact, it might have already happened. And this is a live update as of 9:49 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so about 15 minutes ago. And 17 minutes ago, it tells us exactly. Hannah Ritchie says he will be detained again ahead of a court hearing. Well, hold on a second. Are we talking about like a law court or a tennis court? It's always so confusing. So we don't know. He'll be interviewed by the Australian Border Force at 8 a.m. Saturday local time, which is April 14th in the United States, at an undisclosed location. It's all secrecy. The guy whacks a tennis ball, which you would think I'd be all in favor of him whacking anybody whacking tennis balls, because a tennis ball done broke my foot, which is hurt. But you know what? I'm gonna turn on the Kevin McCarthy, and then I'm gonna go find some ibuprofen because it's already hurting, and I'm supposed to do that before it starts hurting. It's been 8 weeks, people. By the way, my foot should be done. Chris Wilson says, Djokovic, why you should never trust people that play tennis. They are way too sketchy. Yeah, they're either sketchy, or they're Nike, or they're Adidas-y. In Djokovic's case, he's ASIC-y. He is ASIC-y, literally. That just worked out. Thank you for the assist there, Chris Wilson. There's no assists in tennis. That's one of the problems with tennis. It's not a team sport. Oh, no, you can play doubles. No, it's not a team sport. Let's go back to Kevin McCarthy. I'm going to start up Kevin McCarthy. For those of you who speak whatever Kevin McCarthy speaks, enjoy. For those of you who don't, just play along for a while. Just what I like to do is I like to listen to Kevin McCarthy, and let's say he just says and then I'm like, I like the flavonoids more in my head, so I translate him. And I just make up my own language. And that's what we'll be doing. So I'm going to get some ibuprofen, which is a real word. Advil for you Americans. And I'll be back while you guys enjoy.
More people here. When inflation rises, you show up. That's a good thing, I guess.
I see. So his audience is a result of inflation. Not the fact that everyone's trying to hear him say, remember, at the beginning, right after the insurrection, he says, the president bears responsibility for the attack on the Capitol. Some people are saying it's Antifa, but there is no evidence of that. That is what Kevin McCarthy said. You know what? I think we can find that too. But I'll be back in a second.
Well, let's begin. In 1 week, it will mark 1 year since President Biden took office. And we should all be asking ourselves one question. Is America better off after 12 months of one-party rule in Washington? Well, let's recap to see what the answer to that question is. 1 million kids started the year off once again, dealing with abrupt school closures, returning to more uncertainty and disruption. I know you heard it from so many parents, being stuck once again. Homicides in 2021 were near record highs. In several major cities like Philadelphia and Portland, murders hit the highest rate in the city's history.
Under President Trump. Under President Trump's. Hi, Shelley.
Now we have the reason you're all here. We have the highest inflation rate in 40 years.
It is not the reason that they're all there.
Causing prices to surge. That increase you see there all happened under President Biden's watch.
Well, yeah, because the economy crashed under President Trump's watch.
To put that number in perspective, here's the real impact.
By the way, President Biden, according to the Republicans, responsible for inflation. President Biden, not responsible for the job creation. No. Keep in mind, though, that inflation is a problem worldwide. We are in a supply crisis over and over again. And the reason the stocks, the shelves near you are empty, if they are, much more likely due to weather, which happens every year. But when there's a storm, yeah. Hold on, let's go back. I just want, for those of you who haven't seen it, I think we can find. George Conway's on Morning Joe this morning. I'm sure they're going to play the clip of Kevin McCarthy right after. Oh, so this is the Oath Keeper guy who has been charged with conspiracy, seditious conspiracy. Hold on, are you not going to show me? Is everything just going to be black? Hold on, let me do it this way. Here, oh, they got him. Okay, good. We'll watch Kevin McCarthy here.
President Donald Trump.
Here it is.
The one that took place during.
Okay, so this is the press conference that we're watching. Here it is. This is him. This is right after the insurrection on January 6th last year. Don't forget the Seth Meyers video. Which Seth Meyers video?
Joe,
that under oath.
Morning, Joe. As a public service,
Yep.
Immediately denounced the
those of you with short-term memory loss and long-term memory loss, we provide you this clip of yourself.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters. He should have immediately denounced the mob when he saw what was unfolding. These facts require immediate action by President Trump. Accept his share of responsibility, quell the brewing unrest, and ensure President-elect Biden is able to successfully begin his term. The greatest statesman in the history of our country understood that the most dangerous threat to freedom is lawlessness.
I was like, who's the greatest statesman? I want to remember when he was giving this speech. I'm like, who's it? Oh, George Washington. No, it's got to be Jefferson. But he comes up with another choice, and it's a good choice. They're all solid.
A young
hold on. He's about to say who it is. But Stephanie, yeah, I did show a video from Seth Meyers. He made the Supreme Court joke. I don't know if you missed it, but it happened.
lawyer named Abraham Lincoln famously said,
Abraham Lincoln, the greatest statesman, the one that the country fell apart under, and then he got shot. I'm not sure he's the greatest statesman, because that's not really what happens under a statesman, but okay.
there is no grievance that is a fit object of redress by mob law. Yet for several hours last week, mob law tried to interfere with constitutional law.
It's true. I saw that on Bob blah 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 blog.
Some say the riots were caused by Antifa. There is absolutely no evidence of that.
Let me see if my capturing thing is working today, because that is, I have to play that quote over and over again for the right-wing minutes. Go ahead. What? Why? Why are you doing this? Just yelling at my equipment. There we go. Okay, go.
Several hours last week, mob law tried to interfere with constitutional law.
It's not working.
Some say the riots were caused by Antifa. There is absolutely no evidence of that. And conservatives should be the first to say so.
Okay, so then that's the press conference, and we'll watch the press conference. So we don't need MSNBC for that. So again, we're reacting to these. This is a react video, which is totally allowed under the YouTube regulations. We're commenting on that. We're reacting to it, and they're using video from C-SPAN, which is not copyrighted. By the way, YouTube. Everyone's allowed to rebroadcast C-SPAN. We pay for it, and it's in the C-SPAN agreement. You can go to cspan.com. You can see it right on their website. So moving on here to Kevin McCarthy from today. I have so much to watch. I recorded stuff for you guys a couple days ago. Remember when Fauci and Rand Paul had that little argument? I recorded Rand Paul later that day on the Newsmax. I recorded the other senator who he doesn't even know his own name. I recorded him as well. So we'll watch the actual arguments with Dr. Fauci, and then we'll watch the Newsmax coverage of that. And that'll probably be later today, I hope. Again, with everything happening at the Ponderosa, my schedule's all up in the air. But by the way, if you're watching this from the Los Angeles area, consider giving blood or platelets or cotlets today, tomorrow, the next day, whenever you can get an appointment, because there's an emergency situation here. We don't have enough blood in Los Angeles right now. A lot of crips, not enough blood.
Packed on soaring prices. Americans are paying on a daily basis. 50% in gas. Used cars up 37%. Hotels 28%. Beef 19%.
Hotels are not up 28%. I've been getting cheap okay, fine. Hotels up 20%. Oh, yes, of course. Because last year at this time was the peak of the surge. Nobody was traveling and going to hotels. Of course hotels are up 28%. Not at this time, but December. These are the numbers from December. But yes, it was 2021.
Now that's only if you could actually find it.
Cujo says, "Holy crap! I've been watching you for a year, and for that, you have my sincerest apologies." The judges agree with that as well. We are just I don't know how to say this, but it's hard for me to say I'm sorry. Chris Wilson, I used to give blood, but they asked too many questions. I know it's in a bucket. Do you want it or not? Exactly. Well, where did you get this? And I usually just come in and I bring with me my curtains or blinds and I just wring them out right there. I'm like, get your little plastic bag, hold it open like you're pouring in the turkey soup, and I will just wring out the curtains right there. Or I'll just give me a brush and come out to my trunk with me. I got all kinds of blood to donate today.
Consumers been to the store recently? Over the past week, Americans have shared their experience. Now that's only if you could actually find it. Consumers been to the store recently?
Consumers been to the store recently? Yeah, guys. Consumers been to the store recently. Recently, is that a question? Again, no English whatsoever, so all of this is impressive.
For the past week, Americans have shared their experiences of dealing with empty shelves.
Empty shelves, people. All across this nation, Americans are sharing their experience of empty shelves.
And sparse supply.
You know who empties those shelves? Antifa.
While doing their grocery shopping.
Oh, doing the grocery
By nearly every single measure,
yeah,
America is worse off than we were before. Measure. Shopping.
Okay, yeah. What?
By nearly every single measure.
Okay.
America is worse off than we were before Joe Biden took office. And despite the slews of...
By the way, inflation always rises, except under Trump, because the economy cratered. But that's what you want. You want inflation to go up, and along with that, you want wages to rise, which they did last month by record numbers. Real wage growth, which takes into account inflation, was up 10% last month. That's fantastic for the workers. Fan-damn-tastic. Now, is it good that things are costing more for peoples? No, it's not good at all. That's not great. But that's also part of the natural progression of the economy. Is it high right now? Yeah, it is. But wages are growing at an incredible rate. And if you are a family, meaning that you have children, Joe Biden got you $300 a month per child. More if your kid is younger than 6. A month. So the average American family is going to be paying an extra $120 in groceries this year. Okay, but they're getting $300 a month per child.
Ongoing crisis. What did the president do and where did he travel this week? Did he go to a school to advocate for our children to return to the classrooms?
No, he's been saying since the beginning of this year, there's no reason not to have the schools open. That's what Biden's been saying. I got to figure something out so I can play these clips for you. But yeah, Biden has said that, there's no reason to keep the schools closed. This winter, schools should be open. We know what it takes.
No, he did not.
He did. He actually did.
Not to one of the communities dealing with the historic crime surge.
What? Not to honor the community?
To one of the community to the classrooms.
Yeah.
No, he did not.
Not to
one of the communities.
Oh, not to one of the communities. He's saying he didn't go to one of the communities with the crime surge. He did go to Atlanta, so there's no crime surge in Atlanta? Way to go, Atlanta! I hadn't connected the two until now, Kevin McCarthy. So Atlanta, being run by a very Democratic mayor, doing something right, according to Kevin McCarthy. I don't know. I haven't looked at the exact Atlanta. I know that close by at Fort Lauderdale, crime is the worst it's ever been. Homicides, violent crime, etc. That's a Republican mayor. But in Atlanta, apparently, not one of those cities. Because that's what President President Bun. I want a President Bun. I'm so hungry. That house flag looks like Ghost Mario. Which the house flag? Oh, yeah. Does it? All right. Kind of. This one here, is that what we're talking about, Marcy? Kind of a weird color. Okay.
Dealing with the historic crime surge. And we know he didn't go to the border to see the situation firsthand because he's been avoiding that crisis all year.
He has not, and he called it a crisis. And we have been rejecting people coming into the United States. We allow families in because that's asylum. That's the law. And then the court said, hey, you got to keep sending them back to Mexico. Make them stay in Mexico. And that's what we did because that's what the court said.
No, the President of the United States went to Atlanta to appease his Twitter base.
Again, yes. Yes, he went to Atlanta where apparently there's no crime surge. Good news, Atlanta. Way to go, democracy. Nice job, Democrats.
Spreads falsehoods and to disparage millions of Americans.
I don't know if that's English at all.
You know, the Biden agenda is now so...
They say that Joe Biden is going to Atlanta, that we want the Voters' Rights Act in order to disparage millions of Americans. I just can't make that leap. I don't know why saying, hey, it should be easier to vote. By the way, the Voters' Right Act, what you hear about is they want to do away with voter ID. No, they don't. They absolutely do not. They just want to make voter ID very, very similar to what already happens in Louisiana, which, by the way, Steve Scalise, the guy who's railing against the Voter Rights Act, Steve Scalise is from Louisiana. In Louisiana, if you show up to vote, they say, do you have voter ID? Yes, I do. Now, a lot of times, people have ID that's expired. Sometimes people don't have any ID that the state accepts. In that case, what you can do if you're in Louisiana, you fill out an affidavit and say, no, this is really me, under penalty of up to 2 years in jail if you lie, and says, yes, I am this person, here is my ballot, and you get to vote. And that ballot is then checked by the Secretary of State. The affidavit is checked by the Secretary of State. And if you lie about it, you get 2 years in jail. So you have to confirm your identity, and they ask for your address and your place of birth and all that other stuff. And of course, you have to be registered to vote well in advance. And when you register to vote, you have to show ID. If, for example, you have a student ID, and Louisiana just doesn't want to accept that student ID because it doesn't have your address on it, or whatever it is, then okay, I'll fill out, this is really me, I'm an American, I have a constitutional right to vote. There's nothing in the Constitution about me showing ID. That was not a thing for hundreds of years, literally. But I still want to vote. Here, this is me, I swear, under penalty of imprisonment. Do you know how many people in Louisiana have been sent to jail, convicted and sent to jail of voter fraud by signing an affidavit? I'll give you a hint. It's 0. How many people have been sent to jail? Did somebody say 0? That is correct. That's like one judge. It's just like, yeah, okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's what it says. The Voters' Rights Act does not do away with voter ID at all. It just makes it so if you're going to have your voter ID laws, okay, you can have voter ID laws in your state. That's fine. But you also have to have it like Louisiana, like Delaware, like states both red and blue. That, for example, in Alabama, I don't know if this part is in the Voters' Rights Act, but if in Alabama, if you're of a certain age, you can just wander into the polls and say, I don't have any ID. And then you get to vote on a provisional ballot. I believe. Now, Alabama may have changed that because all the Republican states have been passing all these voting laws to make it harder to vote. But at least when I checked last time before the 2020 election, you were allowed to, if you were of a certain age, you could just say, I'm really old and I don't have any valid ID, and then you could vote. All the Voter Rights Act is doing is Voters' Rights Act, Voter Right Act, Voter Right, anyway. But no, it's not trying to get rid of voter ID. It does not negate voter ID laws.
Toxic that the Daily Beast.
And again, voter ID laws are a solution in search of a problem. There's very, very, very little fraud in our country. And the vast majority of the examples we've seen from the last election, this guy here, that guy there, it's all Trump voters.
It's far from a right-leaning publication, recently dubbed it as a Build Back Quieter.
What?
Because recently dubbed the Daily Beast. Now, that's far from a right-leaning publication, recently dubbed it as a Build Back Quieter. Because even Democrats are actively avoiding talking about it. By the way,
Well, that's all being negotiated right now. Oh, and by the way, Kevin, you said that the infrastructure bill, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, was dead and it would never happen. And then it happened.
I have a question for all of you. Did anyone in this room find out where Stacey Abrams' scheduling conflict was all about?
Did anyone in this room find out where Stacey Abrams was all about? Does anybody find out where that was all about? What? Yes, this is yesterday, Tracy.
Well, maybe we just found the answer.
Oh, the answer to where it was about?
Need any other indication President Biden is unpopular?
Is that a question?
As I come week after week, it is now 20.
So what he's talking about is President Biden went to Atlanta to give a speech on voters' rights, and a whole bunch of Democrats who are all for voting rights decided not to show up because they're fucking idiots. Well, you're not doing enough. President Biden working like hell to pass these things is like, yeah, but you're not making enough speeches. You should make a speech. You need to make a speech. And when you do, we're not going to show up for it. And that's going to be the story. As opposed to, let's focus on what's important here. Let's focus on what's getting this done. I should explain. Stacey Abrams, not an idiot. But what she's doing is idiotic. For a scheduling conflict, didn't show up. That being said, Biden hasn't said a negative word about her or anybody else who didn't show up for the speech. He's being very diplomatic about the whole thing because he knows how to get things done. Stacey Abrams, not an idiot. Stacey Abrams is the reason that we think we have control of the Senate. We don't. And when I say we, I mean Democrats, but I'm not a Democrat. The reason that Americans think that the Senate makes some sense is because there's 50 people who call themselves Democrats, 2 of whom are not Democrats at all.
6 Democrats have announced they will be retiring.
Yeah.
That's more than any cycle since 1996.
Okay.
And as I've said from the very beginning, that number will get higher. They cannot run on...
Really? What a bold prediction. The number of people who announce retirement as we get closer to the election will increase. As opposed to, you know how usually people say, you know what, I'm not going to run again. I'm retiring. I want to spend more time with my family. And then a couple months later, they're like, you know what, I love it here so much. I love Tucker Carlson ragging on me on a nightly basis, so I'm going to stay. I've changed my mind. I'm not retirement. I spent some time with my family over the holidays. I fucking hate those people. All the time it happens. So, wow, Mr. Soothsayer, he was right. Kevin McCarthy was right. More people are retiring.
On a record of failure. They definitely can't run on a record of accomplishments.
Well, they did get the bipartisan infrastructure bill passed. The one that you said was dead. But okay.
I know that record will be higher than 30 retirements as it goes.
What?
Who can blame these Democrats?
Yeah, it will get higher. And it's not a record. It's only since 1996. That's not a record.
The only thing they have to show their constituents for the past year
is the infrastructure bill and all the other stuff that they got passed. Oh, also the child tax credits. The only thing they have to... Now, if their constituents don't have kids, then I guess they only get the infrastructure.
Is how they've succeeded in making life harder for the average American.
By giving them $300, $600, $900, $1,000 a month.
And they have done is push more mandates and more control.
And they have done is push mandates. Yeah.
Controls. House Republicans understand the priorities of the American people. They want prices to come down. They want their kids' schools open.
So does Biden.
They want safer communities to be able to walk in their neighborhoods.
So do Democrats. Can anyone not walk in their communities apart from the inner cities where there's no Republicans? Can anyone do that? There are some Republicans. Just as a fact check, there are some Republicans in the inner cities. In New York, for example, 18% of the people in Manhattan voted for President Trump.
In a sense that their government is listening to their needs.
That was in 2016.
Now, if entrusted with the majority, House Republicans will dedicate our legislative and accountability agenda to focusing on the true needs of the American people. This is a commitment we make as a conference.
It is a commitment. It's when you make a commitment at the commencement of a law and or organizational meeting. That's a commitment.
We will not lose sight of why you elected us to represent you in Washington. With that, let's open it up for questions.
Yes, let's.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question for you. A year ago today, on January 13, 2021, you stood on the House floor and you said the president bears responsibility for when take a tax.
I'm pretty sure you guys can hear that, but just in case she's asking, a year ago on January 13th, you said the president bears responsibility, what we just watched.
On Congress, you said that he should have immediately denounced the mob, and you also said that there's no evidence that what happened was started by Antifa. I'm wondering if you still stand by those comments, and also, a few days after that, you went down to visit the former president in Mar-a-Lago. What changed? Why did you make that trip?
And then you went down and you visited the president in Mar-a-Lago. What changed?
What changed? Why did I make the trip?
What changed from what you said on the floor, criticizing him, saying that he was...
My criticism went to everyone on that.
His criticism went to everyone on that day. But he did say, we saw it, he said the president bears responsibility.
Why was the Capitol so ill-prepared that day?
At the time, you made those comments directly about the president.
Why was the Capitol so ill-prepared that day?
Yeah, why was the Capitol so ill-prepared that day? Why? Why was the Capitol so ill-prepared that day?
And how do we make sure it will never be ill-prepared again?
Okay, that's a question. You're able to answer that. The IG's already done the report and suggested 100 things to change so that the Capitol will never be ill-prepared again for a president telling people to attack the Capitol. Also, maybe don't elect those people that would do that.
I just had a conference with our members and the Sergeant of Arms and the Capitol Police. You weren't in the room, but let me give you an answer to some of the questions that were asked.
So he's going to give us one answer to all of the questions that were asked. Just so you know, this is how his...
And some of the questions that were asked to the Capitol...
And Cujo, you're correct. He answered her question with a question. Why was the Capitol... Why did you say this? And what changed? Well, what about the preparation age? What about that?
Police. The chief said that was above his pay grade to make the answer.
Who's Bubba? And why does he get a pay grade? That was above his pay grade.
I asked him, well, who's above you?
Who's Bubba?
Simple question about magnetometers coming before the chambers.
You don't know who's in charge of the Capitol Police? Dude, you're the minority leader of the House. This is something you should have. But you've been asking this question. How come we were so ill-prepared? You've been asking it for months now. And you don't know who's above the chief?
He said, well, if another speaker comes in and decides they could go, they go. Another question to the Sergeant of Arms was, has the January 6th committee asked for any of the communications from the former Sergeant of Arms to the speaker that day? To the best of his knowledge, they have not asked for any of that.
And why hasn't anyone asked where the rape victim bought that short skirt? Why hasn't that been asked? How much did she pay for it? These are all questions we need to know.
The more we learn about the situation, the more we find that from investigation to investigation, the changes made in the Capitol Police Intel Department in November of not providing them information going further has been a real problem on the basis for that day.
What? There's a lot of words there. And you know what? The right just loves it when Kamala speaks. Kamala. I'm so used to them calling her Kamala. Kamala. Anyway, yeah! That's just, my brain can't function right now. It's literally hurting from his verbal kitty litter. Let's just listen to that sentence again.
Made in the Capitol Police Intel Department in November of not providing them information going further has been a real problem on the basis for that day.
Yeah, it's been a real problem on the basis for that day. On which basis? Like first base, second base, third? Or this is Steve Scalise thing with him getting shot and playing baseball? Is that what we're doing right now? Because I don't know.
And the core of what we need to have.
Yeah, Shelley says Nancy Pelosi is an Antifa general. Judges agree. So, yeah, I guess that's where we're... By the way, this is satire right now, YouTube. We don't actually believe Nancy Pelosi is an Antifa general.
What happened here is, why was this building so ill-prepared, and how do we make sure that never happens again?
Right. So the reporter's about... She says, do you believe...
Yes, ma'am. So ill-prepared, and how do we make sure that never happens again? Yes, ma'am.
In the spirit of disclosing
And we can't hear what she says.
private conversations, did you tell House Republicans on a January 11th phone call that President Trump told you he agreed that he bore some responsibility for January 6th, as Chairman Thompson's letter indicates?
I'm not sure what call you're talking about, so.
Well, it was the call to all the House Republicans on January 11th. Do you not remember making that call about the insurrection to all of the House Republicans? Do you not remember that call? Well, I don't know. I make a lot of calls to everyone about the insurrection, and a lot of conference calls. I can't be expected to keep track of my comings and goings and talkings as a member of Congress appointed to that position by the people of the United States. I can't be expected to keep track of things in my position as House Leader. Come on, people. It's Kev. Be gentle.
The January...
Yes, sir. How's CNN doing?
Why is he even having a press conference?
You guys okay?
Yeah, how's CNN doing? You guys okay? Is he talking about Chris Cuomo from like 2 months ago?
You battled the creation of an outside commission from the start. You also opposed a select committee.
Well, that's not true.
Well, you also said...
Go ahead and ask your question.
It is true. It is 100% true.
I'll verify what's true.
I appreciate that. But you said, sure, you'd be willing to testify about your conversations with
what was
Donald
the date
Trump.
of that?
That was in May of last year.
Okay.
And you're now saying you won't agree to voluntarily cooperate. Okay. So why should the public not conclude that you're trying to hide something here and hide the facts from getting out?
Great question. I hope everything gets corrected at CNN.
Well, can you
all
answer?
that with your employees.
Okay, well, I also hope everything gets corrected at CNN. Whatever's going on at CNN.
After January 6th, you can state this. Who was the first person to offer?
After January 6th, you can state this. You mean like next year after January 6th, Manu Raja will be allowed to say whatever it is you're
for a bipartisan committee.
You can state this. Because that's what reporters do, is they state things. We went to the House Leaders Republican Conference today, and he said, and I state, after January 6th...
Who was the first person to offer a bipartisan commission to look at that day? Was it me? I'll help you. The answer is yes.
You were one of many who said we need a bipartisan committee. And then you changed your mind. So for months, Nancy Pelosi said, okay, well, here's what we want from a bipartisan commission. What do you want? And you made demands. And then all those demands were met. And then you're like, I'm not doing this.
Nancy Pelosi waited 4 months. In that time period, as we came here and discussed many times, you were here, you would ask me questions. My fear began to erode that she'd play politics with this.
Your fear?
You watched it unfold and unfold, how she would...
You watched Unfold. That was the Netflix special. It was the guy who wrote Hamilton, but not the real Hamilton. It was another version of Hamilton that didn't do so well. And not a musical as well. It was a 3-act drama. All spoken word. I mean, it was a long day's journey into Hamilton.
That who could have
It's called Unfold.
a subpoena power, who can have the scope, continuing to fight it all.
Who can have mouthwash? Who will have scope? Who will have Listerine? Who will have the generic Costco brand, which, by the way, just as good? Come here. Who would like to smell my breath? Anyone?
All along the way that we now found she just played politics while the Senate had 2 committees. Bipartisan look at what happened on January 6th.
Bipartisan look. 2 committees, bipartisan look.
The FBI was doing their own investigation. And you all know the role of Congress, the only role we have is legislative.
And oversight. And oversight. Constitutionally speaking, Article 1, the legislation is part of the job. You also have the checks and fucking balances of the other 2 branches. That's why we have the trilateral constitutional clauses. You're all supposed to watch one another. Okay? So Kevin McCarthy thinks they're only supposed to write laws. So the whole Benghazi committee thing, I should say committees, illegal.
You asked...
Phil pointed out Benghazi. 10 investigations. But because that was writing laws.
Me that question in May.
If I was a reporter there, I would just start laughing out loudly at that suggestion that we're just supposed to write laws. That's all.
Of Congress, the only role we have is legislative.
The only role we have is legislative. Why isn't my capturing thing working? Someone remind me later to go back and get that. What are we at here? This is 9:36. Hold on. I'm actually going to write myself a note here to get that. To me, Kevin McCarthy, 9:36, only role of Congress. It's just utter inanity.
You asked me that question in May. That was 2 months before Nancy Pelosi decided for the first time in history by any speaker to deny the minority to even put their individuals on a committee.
No, she didn't. You nominated 5 individuals, 2 of whom were witnesses and would eventually be asked to testify before the committee. She said, no, not these guys. We're going to want to talk to them. And as it turns out, that is the fact. That is the truth. The other 3, yeah, they can come on. We've already got 2 Republicans. We'll take your 3 as well. But she didn't deny any Republicans a place on the committee. There are 2 current Republicans on the committee. 3 other people he nominated could be on the committee. And he's like, no, I don't want to.
So when you asked me that question, never did I think a speaker would play such politics.
Oh, the righteous indignation. Never did I think a speaker would play politics with politics. Oh, the outrageous indignation, the unmitigated gall.
And then appoint a chairman who starts the committee by saying the only person out of bounds is the speaker. And now that we find...
What? The only person out of bounds is the speaker? Well, the speaker's Nancy Pelosi. And out of bounds? Is he trying to say the only person that the committee can't question is the speaker? What? Out of bounds?
Even when we ask to preserve that information with the Sergeant of Arms, that they will not provide. Maybe if...
You can have your own committee, Kevin. There's nothing stopping the Republican minority from having a committee. That's fine. Go ahead. Do your thing. They have committees on everything. They have committees on inflation. They have committees on Biden's bicycling. There are committees on everything. They have no power whatsoever because they lost the election. Election have consequences.
Nancy Pelosi had done what other speakers would do and not play politics with it, there could have been a different answer.
If you're
You could have been a different answer. Guys, you could have been a different answer. It's just... How does anybody cope with this man? You could have been a different answer. I want that on a t-shirt. You could have been a different answer.
Yes, sir.
Will you defy a
Yes, sir.
subpoena?
Go
Will
right
you
ahead.
defy a subpoena?
Go ahead, sir.
You have a unique window into the president on that day, January 6th. You were one of the only few people who spoke to him that day.
That seems to be correct.
Doesn't the American public have a right to know what the president of the United States was thinking and doing while the U.S. Capitol was under attack?
So he's just going to say no, or he's going to say you guys have all the information, or he's going to, because we know the content of the call. He says, hey, Mr. President, you got to stop this. These people are really mad and we're in danger. And the president said, well, maybe they care about the election more than you do, Kev. If he said the same thing to me, I'd be like, yes, and that is my name. You know me.
That's a great question. You know the great thing about that?
What?
I didn't wait a year later. On January 6th, I spoke to the American public. Not by one network, but by many networks. My conversation was very short.
He did not reveal his conversation with the public. Sorry, with the president to the public. He did not reveal that on January 6th. In fact, it was another Republican member of Congress from Washington State who outed him on that phone call. Who outed the phone call on him? Who outed him? Guys, you could have had an answer to... You could have been the answer to... I don't even remember what he said.
Advising
You could have been the answer to that.
the president of what was happening here. There is nothing that I can provide the January 6th committee for legislation of them moving forward.
For legislation. For making a law of them moving forward. What?
There is nothing in that realm. It is pure politics of what they're playing.
Okay, so come before the committee under oath and state what you've already stated before. What's the big deal about that? When a congressional committee asks you to testify, being the leader of one of the parties in Congress, you should probably do it.
Yes, sir.
On that note,
Yes.
so when you're in the majority, the only oversight you guys will conduct is oversight that you intend to write bills off of? Is that your...
Excellent question.
Because Congress has a long history of legislating, of oversight that doesn't necessarily result in legislation. You guys did it.
That is correct. Is he about to say Benghazi? Because that's what we're all thinking.
Pelosi did it, Boehner did it, Ryan did it. I mean, there's a long history of that.
Yes, that is all correct.
So you guys are only...
And how often have we gone after people's phone records?
I'm asking you about what you will do. What you will do if you are the Speaker of the House. Will you only conduct oversight that is legislative?
You know what we'll do?
Like, why are we even asking this question? I like the question. It's a great question, whoever you are, guy. But why do we ask Kevin McCarthy anything? Because we know that whatever he says today will have no bearing on future actions.
If we are entrusted with the majority, the first thing we'll do is talk about how do we lower the prices for the American public? How do
Okay, but that'll be a year from now when you become housekeeper.
we make gasoline price affordable again? How do we put food back on the shelves? How do we stop?
Well, the food will be back on the shelves. The truckers will do that when they can get through the pass.
Stop this rise of inflation and prices of everything you deal with.
Well, no, inflation will keep going up. I mean, you can crash the economy like Trump did. That'll bring inflation down. Smart.
How do we secure our border? How do we stop government mandating and controlling our lives?
Well, I mean, the government mandates and controls our lives through legislation, and the only job Congress has is writing legislation. So really, this is not a job you should apply for.
How do we make cities safe again? And yes,
A lot of cities are perfectly safe. I live in a city. I walk down my... Well, when I could walk, I walk down my street. I hobbled down a street last night. I went and got myself a burger. It's a nightmare, actually. I shouldn't have done it. It's been 8 weeks. I should be able to walk by now. That's what they said. When I went to the doctor, Kevin McCarthy told me I'd be able to walk in 8 weeks. It's not fair.
We will hold this administration accountable. We just found this week.
Okay, wait a minute. You're going to hold this administration accountable? That is not legislation. You just said that the only role of Congress is to write laws. Now you're talking about oversight. Sounds political to me.
I sent a letter with Virginia Fox. The Secretary of Education asked the National School Board to send them a letter so he can go to the Attorney General to now investigate the parents who go to school board meetings of terrorism.
The school board meetings of terrorism?
Afghanistan.
Afghanistan. Guys, Afghanistan. School board meetings of terrorism, Afghanistan.
We have 13 new Gold Star families. That never had to happen.
Right. Trump left the enforcement of terrorism to the Taliban. That's what he did. That's what he said. I might even have that, because that. I don't know that I've played that clip a whole bunch. Let me do this. Let me see if I can pull it up quickly. I got it on my phone, and I don't necessarily have everything tagged over. I'll work on that. Yeah, so I don't have it here. But Trump said that we've been enforcing, like, keeping the terrorisms down, and now the Taliban's going to do that. Who killed the American soldiers? Not the Taliban. The Taliban did not kill any Americans during the evacuation. ISIS-K did, or ISIS-X if you're a Republican.
How many Americans are still stuck there? Have any of you asked that question?
Fewer than 100, and they were told to get out 19 times. But by the way, we don't know an exact number because the United States does not register their citizens.
The president said just weeks before he would not leave until every American was gone.
He did say that, and that is a point of contention, and it should be hammered by the Republicans. But you can't make people leave who don't want to leave. You're not going to kidnap American citizens, put them in the trunk of a car, go to the blood center, and offer to donate.
Spared about all that.
Not that I would know anything about anything like that.
Weaponry that the Taliban now has. You got any reporting and recording of where that is? Where's it being sold to now on the black market? IRS.
Well, I'm not sure why they would sell it if they have it, because they need the weapons. But okay, sure. I'm sure some of it's being sold.
Releasing Americans' tax returns.
Again, not a law. That's already illegal. If that's happened, you need to do the oversight. The executive branch actually needs to enforce it. So that's the president's job. But we're mad at him right now, right? So we're not...
Yes, we can do both, and we will. I hope you all have a great...
Okay, do both of what? The oversight? Because you just said that that's not part of the job. You just said that the only job that Congress has is legislation.
Take care and stay safe.
Why is he walking away without taking questions? He's ignoring the reporter's question and doing the great Biden shuffle. All right, that's it for now, guys. I do want to broadcast more, and I apologize that I'm not. My foot's hurting. I wonder if it's more hurting because I have a boot on it, and the boot is painful sometimes. Just to keep the foot frozen like that all the time. I wonder if it's hurting more because of that or because there's actually a problem with the foot. So I get an x-ray on Thursday, and then we might know better. And I really, really hope the doctor looks at the x-ray on Friday and says, take that boot off. Start walking, young man. Rise, 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 Kevin, and walk like a real wooden boy. Cujo says, why is it that the Republicans' go-to response is to lie and blame the victim? That is how they do. Because you know whose fault it is? The Republicans. So what do you do when you've been arrested for raping somebody? You victim shame. She shouldn't have been wearing that skirt. And that is what the Republicans are doing now. Oh, kids. Okay, we got so much to cover because things are happening now. Interesting things. So I hope today, later, I can broadcast with you folks. For now, I'm going to, I don't know, go get another coffee or something. I've taken the ibuprofen. I'm going to go lie on the couch with my foot up. So if you want to join me there, you're welcome to. No, it can't happen, by the way. Don't try and find where I live and then come over and sit on my couch. You got to take a COVID test anyway. Nobody gets near me without the COVIDs. Update. My son, who got the COVIDs, he's recovered fully. He's still testing positive, but he feels fine. Okay, so good. Secondly, his girlfriend, who's a lovely young lady, she now has pneumonia. Both of them double vaccinated, fully vaccinated. She now has pneumonia, had to go to the urgent cares yesterday, and has been given some medication for the pneumonia. This is the mild. This has been more than a week, and they have the mild form of coronavirus. You know, the one that you just get a cold. She now has pneumonia, but she's not in the hospital, and hopefully she will get better. She's gotten a fever up to 103, which is bad, and pneumonia. So not good. I'm not sure what walking pneumonia is compared to regular pneumonia because, I mean, usually with pneumonia, you're able to walk. I don't know. You know what? I am certainly no expert on being able to walk, so don't even ask me. But anyway, that's what's going on. As well, in case you haven't heard, Kevin Lee's daughter, who was exposed to Kevin Lee's son when he had the COVIDs, even after testing negative twice, I tested him twice, 2 in a row, just to make sure we didn't slip by. Apparently, he was not contagious at that time, which is what they're thinking with the rapid test. Apparently not contagious because when he tested positive, we got the Kevin Lee's daughter out of there, and she has tested negative many times with PCR and rapid tests since then, so she's fine. It's well past the window of her testing positive. So fantastic news that she's out and about and doing her thing again. Stephanie says, I'm sorry to hear it. I had H1N1 in February 2020 and had a temperature of 103 and was passed out in the hallway floor. COVID would kill me. Well, try not to get COVID. That's my suggestion. She's not hospitalized, and that is what they say. Mild infection is anything where you're not actually hospitalized. So urgent care does not count. That being said, try not to get COVID, people. That's me. And am I a little bit miffed that Kevin Lee's son went to a hockey game and then had something to eat, took his mask off and had something to eat? Yeah, because COVID will still infect you if you're eating. This is what we know. Anyway, glad he's okay. If you have thoughts and prayers or thoughts and prayers, please send them out to, I want to say Kevin Lee's girlfriend, but that doesn't sound right. Kevin Lee's son's girlfriend? Anyway. Be good to yourselves. Be good to others. I'm hoping I'll see you guys later today. I do have a bunch of stuff that I've captured that I do want to discuss with you. We'll see what happens later in the day. And then movie night. I can probably do movie night because on movie night, I can just lie on the couch. So we'll see you guys later today. And if anybody has suggestions for movies, put them on the Twitters or whatever, and we'll go from there. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Most importantly, be good to Kevin Lee's son's girlfriend if you see her. Also, keep your distance.